I know you heard me on the radio, flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K. I know you heard me on the radio, flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K.
Scarlet Knights fans, welcome to another episode of Night Watch. I am your host, Larry K, here discussing Rutgers football. Forgive the attire. I've been having a rough go of it. A lot going on this week, so I kind of threw my clothes on, but I'm repping Newark Local Beer. Great brewery, awesome stuff. Steve's my dude out there. If you're ever in Newark, right on Broad Street, come through. Threw the hat on, some Rutgers red. Had to run to the game, got to the game, saw the game. Game was great. Want to talk about the game. Rain held off, so a nice day out there, a little bit of cloud cover. Sun came out and poked out a little bit of humidity, but not too bad. Good day to be out there. Again, we got kind of lucky without these, cookers in the early go of the season here. So the early two games are out of the way, Howard and Akron. Now we move on to a bye week, and then we come back on the road against Virginia Tech. Much anticipated game, and then you get into the meat of the conference schedule. So the season is really just underway for the Scarlet Knights. Come away, 49-17 victory, move to 2-0 on the season. Some things to talk about here. I think early on there was a lot of frustration amongst Rutgers fans, and me included. Look, you never know how these games are going to go, and I understand that there's frustration early in games, but you look around the league, you look around college football, and Penn State has a scare to Bowling Green, barely comes away with a victory. I think Iowa State is playing Iowa close right now. Notre Dame is down right now. And I'm sure these games, by the time you're listening, will change, but that's my point, right? I mean, early on in some of these games where you expect, easy wins or you expect easy treading, in hindsight, at the end of the game, a lot of times it is easy treading. But early on in games, these teams come in fired up. Teams got to find their grooves, and it's not always right out the gate easy. And it's Northern Illinois that's up on Notre Dame 13-7, end of the second quarter. I don't expect that to hold necessarily by the time you guys are listening to this later, but that's what it is on Saturday afternoon as I get home to record this cast and talk to you guys. So look, Ethan Kaliakmanis, he comes out the first week against Howard. He looks like he's everything Rutgers had been missing, just pinpoint accuracy. Really played a near flawless game, the first game. This week you come in, and one of Ethan's issues last year had been his propensity to sometimes throw picks and to make mistakes. And it's not really physical deficiencies where he can't squeeze the ball in or he can't get it there. It's sometimes where he's squeezing the ball in where he probably shouldn't be. And today you saw early on an interception from Ethan. But that interception, in all honesty, he was drilled. Absolutely drilled. Was it a great throw? You had a defender up front. You had a defender over the top behind the receiver. That defender's the one who actually came up with the ball. Do I fault him for an errant throw? I mean, could he have squeezed it in there had he not been drilled at the point of throwing it? I don't know. Maybe not. He was drilled. That has to account for something with Ethan. But still, you got two defenders there. You're under pressure. It's a deep throw kind of across the field to your left side. I mean, do you need to throw that thing? Probably not, right? Probably not. You then had the Duff touchdown, which, welcome, young man, to the Scarlet Knights. Welcome to the stat sheet. Awesome, fortuitous, serendipitous play there by Duff. But I didn't love that throw. That receiver was blanketed as well, and that pass probably should have been an interception. Some serendipitous football luck there, and I'm happy to have it against Akron at home early in the season where you can expect such serendipitous luck. But going forward into the conference schedule and against maybe more formidable teams with less room for error, you don't want to see those types of throws. So eighth and overall for the day, 14 of 23 for 230 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Respectable stat sheet there. You want him over 200 yards. You like the touchdown to INT ratio. Again, the INT, he was getting drilled. Completion percentage, not terrible. So I think it's just a little bit of reminder that, hey, we don't need Ethan Kaliakmanis to be a world beater. We don't expect Ethan Kaliakmanis to set the world on fire every single week. What we need from Ethan Kaliakmanis is efficiency. What we need from Ethan Kaliakmanis is the ability to get the ball into playmakers' hands when we need it most. And I think you're getting that, but this was just a reminder that there's going to be a couple throws where it's not going to be perfect every time, where you're going to have to overcome some adversity, where he's going to have to see the field clearly and do some things right. So, it's just a little bit of a reminder there. But look, let's be honest. As the game went on into the second half, he was much more, I think, poised and playing within himself. The throw to Long for the 53 or 58 yard touchdown pass was a thing of absolute beauty. Again, Richie said in the preview show, watch out for Long, and we are watching out for Long. Just great to see him get down deep and perfect dime of a throw by Kaliakmanis. And that's what you can get from him. Just a dime of a throw, exactly in stride. Let Long catch the ball and continue to run and take his momentum into the end zone. It's exactly what you want to see. And it puts something on tape for other teams to now have to account for. And I think you saw that after we went deep a few times, we had some success. And I don't think it started with that pass. I think it started really at the end of the first half on the drive where Ethan was really threading the needle more than once. Had a nice couple throws to Miller and some other guys to get us down that way near the end zone and to finally push into the end zone. I think the team, Akron had to start accounting for the deeper ball and for the threat of the ball going over their heads, and so they couldn't be looking in the backfield quite as much, and that also helped the run game continue to gain its momentum and keep rolling forward, which I think is beneficial. You put those kinds of things on tape, and it makes teams have to account for other things, which bodes well for your game planning and bodes well for that little chess game you're going to play there. Overall, a balanced game. The kind of game you want to see if you're Rutgers. 515 total yards, 230 of which came from the passing game, 285 of which came from the running game, averaging 7.7 yards per play. Third down efficiency, 6 of 9. It's just a nice thing to see. You want to be up there above that 50% mark in third down efficiency. You want to have a balanced attack where you can rely on both your rushing and passing game, especially in a game like this. I think it's a good sign in that regard. Busted coverage there on the long touchdown play from Akron. We came on a corner blitz, I believe, and Loyal or whoever was responsible for that coverage was late in rolling over there to make up for it. Results in a touchdown early in the second half for Akron. There were some things early in the game, whether it was the offense stalling and whether it was the defense not looking quite as stout as you might want them to look, that were a little bit concerning against a team like Akron. In hindsight, it's always hard to gauge because, like I said, early in these games, a lot of teams struggle. Early in these games, a lot of teams that end up lopsidedly losing look like they're having a good showing. And so you got to take the game as a whole. But I do think, when we're looking at a season where we have expectations where they are, you got to be a little bit tough in your analysis because you want to see things really be clicking and you want to see things really be run with ease in some ways if you want to once you get into the difficult parts of the schedule, you want to have the type of success you think Rutgers can have. So nothing wrong with being a little bit critical in some respects. We come out with, I think, 2 sacks. Nice to see Ray get on the board. Nice to see Ray get some pressure up the middle. I think that's something I was looking for, right? Defensive line being able to, assert itself. And Akron's not the type of team that has a dominant trench game on either side of the ball, so you wanted to see our trenches perform well. I thought our offensive line out the gate, again, when you have the kind of, you have 285 rushing yards, the line's playing well, right? Especially in the run game. I thought they asserted themselves early. That was nice to see. Kyle Monangai, absolute beast. 27 carries for 208 yards, averaging 7.7 yards a carry, 3 touchdowns. He's well on his way to having a career season again. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to hold for the entire duration of the schedule, but thus far he's been every bit of the type of runner and every bit the premier player you think he'd be. And my colleagues at the College Huddle, my Big Ten colleagues, have very high expectations for Kyle, and I think it's coming to fruition so far. And then Raymond, 17 carries for 77 yards, averaging 4.5 yards a carry for 1 touchdown. Somebody made a good point on one of the post-game shows saying, Raymond kind of runs with a similar decisiveness and a similar style to Kyle Monangai, so it's easier maybe for the offensive line to have a nice rhythm and chemistry with him, and you don't seem to really miss a beat in some ways when he subs in. Now we'll see how this continues to play out. Sam Brown, we got odd news, right before the game that he was out, not even questionable, but out, and you really didn't hear a peep all week about it. And all of a sudden he's out. And I think as fans, this is going to be one of the things that we're going to be aggravated with all year, I feel like. Because Schiano has already said he's not going to indulge us at all with injuries unless they're season ending. And we're going to get the report before the games, and he's going to stick to the report every week. And that's as much as we're going to get with injuries. And the frustrating thing about that is you really have no clarity on what type of injury these guys have, when they got the injury, and how long the injury is going to sideline them, right? It could be 2 weeks. It could be a month. We're never going to know unless it's season ending. So who knows what happened to Sam Brown? This is another season where he misses a game due to injury. You feel for the young man. And we're going to see how the running back room is going to play out with Benjamin when he gets back, with Brown. Raymond now fitting in with a nice rhythm these first 2 games. We'll see how the running back position continues to evolve. I will say this, as much as I love seeing Monangai and just destroy the stat sheet and continue to up his stock and just continue to be the leader of this team, whether it's on the stat sheet emotionally or just as a football bruiser, I don't want to rely, and in hindsight, yes, this was a very balanced game in hindsight, and that includes some of these long passes when we started to put things together, towards the second half of the game. But early in the game, it really seemed like the only answer we had whatsoever was Kyle just running the ball. Now, what do you do when you need a spark? What do you do when you need something to happen? You lean on your superstars. That's what you do. I'm not faulting Rutgers for doing that. I'm not faulting Kyle Monangai or surprised that he's, such jumping out at me at the stat sheet. But when you get into the schedule where you're playing more formidable teams, you hope you don't have to consistently only rely on Kyle Monangai to make anything happen when you're going through some adversity. Because if teams that are a little bit more capable start zeroing in on Kyle, and we saw that some of the time last year, and really doing everything they can to take him away, you're going to have other answers other than just feeding him the ball. So while I'm happy to see it, while we should celebrate it today, while I'm happy that the rest of the offense kind of came along after that, I wouldn't say that I'm thrilled that early in the game we had to stick with that more than almost anything else. But it did come along. So, like I said, it's an entire game you have to look at in its entirety. You can't simply cabin it to one half and be too hard or too joyful. You got to just kind of take it as a whole. If Richie said Long was going to be good this year, I think we all agreed, and I was very high on Dymere Miller, and I've continued to be impressed with him. 4 receptions, 77 yards, averaging 19.2, no touchdowns, but he played some key roles on some of those drives, especially the drive at the end of the first half. Some of the throws that were incompletions that might have looked a little errant from Ethan Kaliakmanis. I think these receivers, Miller could kind of give a lesson coming back for the ball, fighting for the ball. I think sometimes Ethan looked like he was expecting guys to come back to the ball, and they didn't necessarily come back and fight for it. That's just something you got to work on. If Ethan's going to be taking, and I don't want to call it a gamble because it's not just like a ridiculously errant throw, but if he's going to try to squeeze the ball into tight windows, he's going to take risks on balls that maybe his arm isn't getting enough zip, but he's going to try it anyway, and it's going to hang there a little bit and give both the defender and the receiver a chance to get it. These guys are going to have to come back for the ball. They're going to have to fight for the ball. And so that's just something I want to see a little bit more of, in addition to some of the separation. And if the separation isn't happening just consistently all the time, I hope Kirk Shiraka draws some things up to get the separation working one way or the other, if it's not just happening, naturally. Because just early in that game, it looked like there were some difficulties getting separation and getting receivers to complete passes by fighting for the ball. I don't want to be nitpicky, and I'm not nitpicky, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I'm just trying to be objective with you guys and give you a legitimate post-game kind of discussion here. And for that reason, I mean, what are you going to get from Akron? I'm not going to sit here and pop champagne over the win. I'm not going to downplay the win. So I'm going to be happy with the win on a Saturday, happy with all the things jumping off the stat sheet and the overall margin of victory. And at the same time, I'm going to kind of address what we can glean from Akron. And some of that are things to zero in on and watch going forward when we get into, more difficult parts of the schedule. So Fletcher, again, with a touchdown coming out of the flat. He's becoming a real weapon. We saw mention that Konopka and Fletcher in there blocking as well on some of these run plays. I mean, the running game looks like it's a well-oiled machine thus far. That's great to see. So the offensive side of the ball, the push was good. I told you going into the game I wanted to see what would happen with the defensive line. And like I said, seeing Ray get in there early for the pressure and the sack, and then even seeing Lewis get in there when Lewis comes around the edge, and I know the quarterback actually escaped and ran for a couple yards, but it was still nice to see Lewis get back there and get some pressure. I thought the overall contain seemed a little bit better. There were some plays where you get around the edge and, guys are running a little bit open. But for the most part, aside from that blown coverage, Rutgers had steady control on the defensive side of the ball. So that was good to see. We had the pick later in the game. You had the Shaquan Loyal pick. I predicted Shaquan would be leading the team in picks. We'll see. Flip Dixon gets a little bit in there. That's nice to see because I think he's going to be one of the leaders on this team. We're going to need him to be with Motoray out. So defensively, I didn't necessarily early on see some insanely dominant thing, but for the most part, I mean, they did their job. They shut down Akron for the most part. Later in the game, you got second and third teamers in. They score a touchdown on a long run. That can happen. You don't want it to happen, but that can happen. And the blown coverage obviously was a problem, and that's something that you got to look at because you're bringing a corner blitz to try to get some pressure because you're not necessarily getting as much consistent pressure with the normal front four that you have. And like I said, Ray got in there nice. Lewis got in there a couple times. Didn't close the deal, but got in there. So you saw some of it, but you were trying to create some extra pressure by bringing a blitz. And then when you bring that blitz, you get burned because of a blown coverage. That's just something to keep an eye on when we're discussing, the outlook for the defense. I expect this defense to come into its own, but we haven't really – I don't know who they are exactly yet because we haven't gone up against a team that's really going to test them in that way. So, it's hard to glean a ton from that. Linebackers continued to do their thing as best they could. Hopefully we're more closer to full strength against Virginia Tech. We now have a bye week. So we go into this bye week. You really couldn't have asked for a better schedule this season. We're going into the bye week. Another chance to get healthy. We had 2 games early in the season where we didn't have to overexert ourselves or try to play guys too early. Now we have a bye week, and then you go on the road to Virginia Tech, and you have a real chance to come out of this bye week healthier, and with just a good chance to start the season 3-0 and come home for the blackout game against Washington and make it something to really get the fans pumped up about and really make a statement early in the season. Now, this is going to be the first time this season that Rutgers is really, tested in that manner. So we're going to learn a lot more. We've learned a little bit the first 2 weeks. We're going to learn a lot more now going into Virginia Tech. And even just talking about our defense. So Finley was 14 of 31 for 138 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So it wasn't like he was setting the world on fire by any means. Taj Bullock did come in 3 of 3 for 13 yards. And he rushed 4 times. I don't think he got any yards. So, we contained him better than some people might have hoped, and a little bit better than Scroggins last week. So the defense did its job. I was looking for the D-line, and I think there was an improvement. Jabome, 4 tackles, including 1 solo. Igmanosin was the hero, though. 4 solo tackles, 6 tackles that he was into, tackle for a loss. Eric Rogers, 4 and 3 solo. Flip Dixon, 2 and 1 solo. Just good to see him in there. Kaj Sanders got in the game, too. So I liked what I saw. They took care of business against Akron on a beautiful, kind of gray, breezy, fallish day in September. Started off a little rough sledding. You come down to earth a little bit with the quarterback. You come down to earth a little bit with the receiving, passing game. But you continue to build on your reputation and confidence in the running game. And then as the game goes on, you continue to build your confidence in the passing game. Despite some miscues by the defense overall is stout. The defense makes plays. The defense makes things happen. The D-line looks a little more stout. But this is the end of the speculation. This is the end of the what if. This is the end of the, who plays, when who's back on the lineup. This is the end of that. We have 2 weeks, 1 weekend of a bye week, and then we come up against Virginia Tech, and all bets are off. No more speculation. We either put up or we shut up. I expect us to come out swinging. I will have some content leading up to the Virginia Tech game. Not all my questions were answered, but some of my questions were answered to some extent. I think we have what it takes in terms of efficient passing game, guys on the roster, the ability to do what we have to do in order to have a really successful season here. But they're going to have to show up and execute. And we're going to find out a whole heck of a lot in 2 weeks. Guys, if you have not done so yet, please smash that subscribe button. I know I'm a little disheveled today. My gear is all over the place. I got this mix match hat and shirt on, and I'm rambling and babbling and stumbling and mumbling, but I'm trying to keep it as objective as possible. I'm trying to keep it as concise and consistent as possible, and I do it. And more times I hit that, you guys hit that subscribe button, the more I hit that like, you hit that like button, not me. What am I talking about? The more you comment below about what you think of my analysis, and sometimes I screw up on my analysis, so point it out in the comments. Last week, I talked about the offensive line getting pushed, and somebody said, hey, we ran. I think they did their job. So when you guys comment sometimes, hey, I'm not always 100% accurate. I'm not 100% on the ball. Comment and let me know. But click subscribe. If you haven't clicked subscribe yet, I'll wait a second. Just click it. Click it. Thank you for clicking. Click subscribe. Let's continue to grow the channel. Remember, I am also, this podcast is live in an audio version on every major podcasting platform. So if you're going to work, if you want to send it to a friend who likes to listen to podcasts in audio form, if you know they like to work while they listen or drive while they listen or whatever it is, while they listen, it's available on every major podcasting platform, Spotify, Apple, all of those things, Podbean. Go out there and type in Night Watch Larry K and find this on audio format and let people know that it's out there in audio format. And if you're listening on the audio format, you can go to YouTube and see what the heck my crazy gear looks like and type in Night Watch Larry K on YouTube. Find the channel and click subscribe to the channel and help us grow. I will be on with Zach from Big Ten Football Talk this week and give you guys some content there. It will be live on both the audio and the Night Watch channel. I'll be doing some live shows pretty soon. We're going to get going. That's why the more you subscribe, the more the channel can give me these bells and whistles to allow me to go live and give me different mechanisms to help me when I go live. So continue to hit subscribe. And I'm going to have some big Virginia Tech talk. I'm going to have some other guests on. So there will be content during this bye week. So keep it locked to Night Watch. Sorry for the rambling craziness. Congrats on RU for the win. Enjoy the rest of your college football Saturday. NFL, it started Thursday, but the big first NFL Sunday starts tomorrow. So whoever your team is, enjoy NFL Sunday. Enjoy the weekend with your families. Always enjoy the win. I'll talk to you guys very soon. Go RU, Larry K. out.